Have you ever set one of those huge, exciting goals, like a New Year's resolution, only to watch your motivation completely fizzle out after just a few weeks? Yeah, it's a super frustrating feeling, and it happens to all of us. We usually blame ourselves, right? We think, oh, I just don't have enough willpower. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? What if the whole approach is broken? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a really simple but kind of mind-blowing idea. The most incredible, life-changing transformations don't come from some single, heroic effort. Nope, they're actually the result of tiny, everyday habits that grow over time. Kind of like a tiny seed that, with a little attention each day, grows into a massive garden. So, if the secret isn't one massive push, why do we keep falling short? Why do those amazing plans to run a marathon or finally write that book always seem to end in frustration? Well, it turns out we've been focused on the wrong thing, like completely. And that brings us to something I call the giant leap myth. This is the core misunderstanding that honestly sets most of us up for failure before we even get started. We're all suckers for the overnight success story, right? The quantum leap. We think we need to make some huge, sweeping change to see any real results. But here's the thing. That belief, it's a total trap. It makes starting feel impossible, and when we don't see those dramatic results right away, what do? We quit. So, if giant leaps are a myth, what's the alternative? This is where things get really cool. Let's get into the aha moment of it all, the incredible and kind of counterintuitive math of just 1%. Here is the absolute key takeaway. What you do every single day matters so much more than what you do every once in a while. It's not about one crazy intense workout or one day of perfectly healthy eating. It's all about just being a tiny bit better consistently. So just imagine this for a second. On one side, you make a tiny, almost unnoticeable improvement. On the other, a tiny, barely noticeable slip-up. On any given day, neither one seems like a big deal at all, right? But what happens when you string those days together for a whole year? Well, the result is staggering. If you get just 1% better each day for a year, you don't just get a little better. Because of the incredible power of compounding, that exponential growth, you end up nearly 38 times better than where you started. A tiny effort, a monumental result. Now, look at the other side of that coin. A daily decline of just 1% doesn't just leave you a little bit worse off. It's a total wipeout. You're left with pretty much nothing of where you began. This just goes to show you that your habits are always at work. They're either building you up or they're tearing you down. There's really no standing still. Okay, so the math is pretty hard to argue with, right? But how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice in our real busy lives? Let's get practical and walk through 3 simple but incredibly powerful tools you can use to start making your own 1% improvements. We're going to break down 3 techniques. First, habit stacking, which is all about linking behaviors. Second, environment redesign, which is about making good choices the easy choices. And third, tracking progress, a total game changer for motivation. First up, habit stacking. The absolute genius of this is that you stop trying to invent motivation out of thin air. You don't have to. Instead, you leverage the momentum of a habit you already have, something you do on autopilot every day, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. You just bolt the new, tiny habit right onto the end of the old one. And the formula could not be easier. After my current habit, I will do my new small habit at this specific location. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will do 2 minutes of stretching in the kitchen. See, it completely removes the friction of trying to decide when and where to do it. It just happens. All right, our second tool is all about playing smart, not hard. Let's be honest, relying on willpower is a losing battle. Our motivation goes up and down. A much better strategy is to become the architect of your environment and design it so that the right choice is actually the easiest choice. And these examples are so practical. Think about it. Want to start running? Just lay out your running clothes the night before. Want to drink more water? Keep a full water bottle on your desk at all times. Trying to eat healthier? Put a bowl of fruit right on the counter. It's not about trying harder. It's about making the good habit obvious and effortless. What you're really doing here is lowering what behavioral scientists call activation energy. By laying out your running clothes, you remove all those little decisions and hurdles that could talk you out of it. The cue is unmissable, and the next step is basically already done for you. Our final tool is so simple it almost seems silly, but trust me, it is so powerful. It's simply tracking your progress. Seriously, the act of making a mark, like putting a big X on a calendar every single day you do your habit, creates this amazing visual feedback loop. And here's the psychology of why it works so well. As that chain of X's gets longer, you become more invested. You really don't want to break the chain. It stops being about just that one action and starts being about protecting your streak. It's a huge incentive to show up, even on the days you just don't feel like it. So, how does this all come together? What's the big picture? It all boils down to one simple, profound truth. This is where we connect these small daily actions to the life you are actively building. Just let this sink in for a second. The life you have right now, your health, your finances, your knowledge, it's just the cumulative result of thousands of tiny decisions you've made in the past. Your current reality is just a lagging measure of your past habits. So, if you remember just one thing from this explainer, let it be this. Forget the giant leap. The most reliable path to incredible, monumental results isn't some massive action. It's the accumulation of small, smart choices repeated day after day after day. And that leaves us with one final and I think most important question. This isn't about overhauling your entire life tomorrow. It's about finding one small positive choice you can make today. So what is the 1% improvement you can start with that your future self is going to thank you for?